Awesome. So we're live. So welcome to another Run Wild with Us and Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise Presses. And I'm here with you on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, typically along with several of our amazing editors, such as Ben White, who is just now joining us. Hey, Ben. How you doing? Oh my gosh, you're doing pretty good today, man.
That's good.
Yeah, not bad. So I was just explaining to folks who we are, and we're here with them to answer any old questions that they might have. And how they do it is go ahead and they just pop those questions into the comments section of whatever venue they're on. We actually live stream this across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then we don't actually do it for this one, but for other ones, we do load it onto TikTok as well, because why not? Can't hurt. Caroline says, hey guys, great to see you, Lisa and Ben. As always, fabulous to see you too, Carolyn. Thank you so much for joining us. So Ben, how was your week? Anything new and exciting happen?
Nothing new, nothing exciting, but making progress on a novel and on a collection of short stories.
Nice.
So that may be new. That is new for me to make progress.
Oh, please. You're one of the most active editors that we have. So that's a grand underestimation.
Yeah, it's good progress with the authors. The authors are engaged. They're understanding what I'm saying. That's a plus. And they're taking action to polish.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm prepping. I get to present to IPG, our distributor, on Monday.
Oh, and yeah.
I only realized that I didn't build the deck yet, like, I don't know, 3 days ago, and went, so that'll be my whole weekend. Will just be, so for people watching, what happens is that your distributor, if you're with a major distributor, they have a sales conference to their sales team. Usually it's like 3 times a year, sometimes 4. It's basic. They basically identify like seasons. And then what happens is they invite the publishers that they represent to come and present on the different books that they have coming out during that season. So this one, I believe, is the fall of this year. So I'll be presenting all the books that are going to be coming out. I want to say between, it's like September and December, maybe something like that. And what we do is we prep one page, and it has like the cover, back jacket copy, promotional material. If the author's planning on doing anything extra special, like if they're getting a publicist, if they're planning a book tour, and any additional material that the author might have, like if they've been published a lot previously and got a lot of great reviews. We also use it as an opportunity to let them know what we do for all of our authors. So everything from all the places that we send reviews out to, the presence that we have on social media, and that includes like the number of links that we have or hits that we have on different posts. And also that we do have a newsletter, and we actually do have a sign up of fans of around 17,000, I believe. So we provide all this information, and also that we we post all of our stories on Edelweiss, which is an online platform that like libraries, booksellers, and retailers use to get digital advanced review copies of books that are coming out. And that is the platform that IPG uses. So we just let them know that, hey, you know, we've got all this great stuff going on, as well as like any awards that we've won, if how our sales have been in the past, stuff like that, to kind of get them hyped up, right, and excited about our titles and about all the stories coming out. So anyway, so I still have to do all the prep work for it. And I think they give me basically a minute a book. So usually that means my Friday and Saturday is all about getting the materials together. And then Sunday is all about just rehearsing it so that I don't sound like a complete goober. No, never, ever. And it's actually fun. They're usually they interact pretty well. So it's good. And then I'm finishing up a memoir I just sent it for the cover design to get finalized and for the interior files to be created. It's got tons and tons of amazing pictures. I can't quite talk about it yet, just because myself and the author are going to have to go and get sign off from certain major studios who shall remain nameless right now until we get that sign off, because a lot of the great work he's done has been focused on one specific studio. So I'll just kind of leave it there. I mean, he's worked across all these industries and across all the major studios, and it was just an absolute blast working with him on the memoir. So super excited to get it out. But yeah, we're still doing that. And then I'm working on a novel written by a gentleman from Africa. So it's an interesting blend of kind of like a modernization of mythology, of African mythology. So that's kind of fun. I'm about halfway through that one. And then I just picked up, we had one editor who kind of went MIA. So I told the author that I'll pick up his collection of short stories, and I'll start working with him on that. And then after all that, then I get to start working on the third book of in the Cure world. So Ben, look for my bullet points like I normally do. So guys, what I usually do is I'll brainstorm out what the storyline is going to be for the book, and I'll structure it in the way that I intend on structuring the book itself. And Ben's my editor, so I send all that to Ben. And I'm like, okay, what do you think? And then he'll usually give me some really amazing ideas that will just like pop in. And then I'll run away. Sometimes I'll even like get a hotel room somewhere so no one can bother me for a couple of days and just knock out, as much as I possibly can. And then I'll go over it a couple times and like flesh it out and stuff. And I actually have a couple of amazing readers who I send what I consider to be the not done, but it's getting there stage. And then it goes to Ben, and he and I make it actually readable. And then from there, we then send it off to another group of proofreaders, because I'm very good at typos. And
yes, you are.
Yes, I am. And then once all that is said and done, then it finally, we'll usually do one more round, and then almost more like a proofread. And then we'll send it off to our formatters. So it should be a lot of fun. I actually want to go back and reread the short stories that we did in Uncurable, the anthology of stories based in the world of Cure, because I really, really think that we're going to be able to pull some cool ideas and give proper credit, obviously, right, to those authors, including you, because we've got a short story written by you in that anthology. So that'll be a lot of fun.
With my insights into the world of Cure, how could I not write something?
I know, right? Come on, man. CJ says, hey, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, CJ. Chris says, bonjour. Bonjour, Chris. As always, it's lovely to see you. Caroline says, you are over the moon and into the stars, Lisa. Grateful for what you do for us authors. Oh, please. I am just grateful that we have the platforms to do what we can do and really highlight such amazing talent. I mean, if you guys had ever had the opportunity to sit in an acquisitions meeting with us, it is ridiculous because I'd say although we're all quite varied in terms of our experiences and taste and stuff, when it comes down to picking stories to actually acquire, it's hard. You guys rock. So last year our intention was to only acquire, I think it was 15 to 20 titles per press. And I think we actually ended up, I wouldn't say double, but it was more like 25 and like 15. And that's why when you see Ben and I, we look tired and full of caffeine. And that's also why a bunch of our editors have gone MIA, because either they're like,
lost them.
You can't do this to me. So
even the deciding point, I mean, there's going to be some right away yes and some right away no's.
Yeah,
but then you get in the middle part, and that's where the discussions kick in, and it could be, I mean, the minutia of attention, or the minutia that we give our attention to is the deciding factor, and sometimes it's a very thin line of the yes and no's. They're in the middle, and sometimes it's just well, we've heard this before, we've seen that story before, or the writing, or the writing is going to be one of those yes or no's, easy ones. So when you get to the middle, though, that's when the discussions get very interesting, and I personally learn a lot from those discussions. Okay, yeah, you're right. I didn't see that.
Oh, that's totally true. And it's funny because especially sometimes the discussions, it's like, the person will come in with like, well, I didn't like this, not because of the writing, but because of like, there's some theme in the stories, or there's something about it that didn't quite resonate or didn't quite ring true. And sometimes it's more like we don't have visibility to that culture or that world, or it might just be like, if one of us isn't a big sci-fi reader, and this is definitely like a sci-fi book, it just may not, they just may not get it. And that's okay. And that's the other great thing about our acquisitions team. We're very honest about it. Like, if we're not going to sit here and play like, oh yeah, I know this, right? Like, like if we're not familiar with a type of story, or a genre, or some kind of subgenre or what have you, we'll just say it, instead of trying to play out like we know everything. I think we're very good at being very honest about our strengths and our weaknesses. So
willingness between individuals to take on that story we're not familiar with, or the genre we're not familiar with. I think there's that challenge that we appreciate as individuals. So it's not necessarily something I would read, but I can edit it.
Right.
and jump right into it. Yeah.
Or it's something I would read, but I can't edit it. Like I never take on the only poems I've ever taken on have been Ben's, but it's because Ben typically writes in a narrative poem form, and that I actually can edit. But if you gave me basically any other form of poem, I don't feel qualified to edit it, because I'm not a poet. No matter how hard I try, it comes out like Mary had a little lamb. Like it's it's embarrassing.
I've always wondered who wrote that. Now I know.
Tejas says, Lisa, have you ever heard of I am not going oh yes, I am familiar with that. I'm not going to be able to say it appropriately. So guys, go look in the chat and you'll see Tejas comment. But yes, I have. Caroline asked,
I know the second part.
Yeah, I know Gita. Yeah. Caroline says, hey, hay and straw, we are all tired but going strong. Well, I mean, heck yeah. You find those things that give you drive and vim and vigor and passion, and you just keep going after it. And when you decide, you know what, I'm done with this, then you're done with it. That's it. End of story. Boom. We did get a question over the last week, and I want to make sure that we hit it. So Caroline Banks says, I am shocked to hear that a publisher has to pay for reviews. When did that start? So Ben, do you want to take a shot at that first, or?
I think it's my initial response was, it's greed, pure greed. But it is a service that someone is providing, so it's not that big of a shock to know that in a free market society you have to pay for a service. But it's it may be a change from the past approach, and which is the shock of it, and the well, it used to be free, and bubble gum used to be a penny a piece, but things do change, and you have to change with them and face it, because everybody's got a house payment or a roof to fix.
Oh yeah, or a floor to get replaced.
Everybody's got some expense.
Yep. Yeah, and I have to admit, you've had to pay for reviews for as long as I can remember. So minimally for as long as that we've been in existence, and I think probably at least for the last 15, 20 years. And to Ben's point, a little bit like behind the scenes view, typically what happens is like the New York Times and the Kirkus Reviews and the Publishers Weeklies and all, like, the Chicago Reviews, they have both. They have both the reviews that you don't have to pay for, and then they have reviews that you have to pay for. That does not guarantee it's going to be a good review. All it means is you're going to get a review. Now, in acknowledgement that you're getting a review and that you're paying for it, they usually at least put one really good word in it, so that, like, let's say if they hated it, it might say, the most extraordinary piece of crap we've ever seen. And then you can pull the word extraordinary and quote, whatever review it is. But I think it came, I'm pretty positive that all came about because these magazines and newspapers and online journals were really, really struggling to survive. And they were spending a significant amount of money on bringing in reviewers and having those reviewers publish, in essence, free media. And they knew they had a platform, and they knew they needed to make money. So they created a subset and said, you know what? We are getting so many requests for reviews. Why don't we have it where we still do, some reviews for free, but if you want an actual review to be guaranteed, then you've got to pay for it. And it's actually, it goes beyond that. All of them as well also have very targeted advertising. So like I get reached out to by Kirkus and by Publishers Weekly and some of the others that if they've done a review of one of our books and it got a starred review or a highly recommend or what have you, they'll reach out to me and say, hey, we love this. And we're going to have an edition of our publication that's focused on whatever genre or whatever form that book was, and they'll offer for them to highlight it or for it to be featured in that publication. And if I don't pay for it, it's not getting featured. And I mean, they're very open about it. So it's just that us as those as the individuals who actually acquire these publications, we just may not have visibility to that fact, but that's true across all media. I want to say you could anyone who knows my bio, like I've been featured in Forbes, I've been featured in I think the New York Times, definitely New York Weekly, all these like really, really major publications. Well, guess what, guys? They, when they reached out to me and said, hey, we want to feature you, it was we want to feature you, and you're going to have to pay for it. So, they obviously wouldn't have published that feature or the article about me if they didn't believe it would be high enough quality, right? Because that is one of the caveats. Like, you've got to pass these basically tests, right, in order for it to get approved and through their editorial staff. But all of them, well, I can't say all of them, a good number of them, either I had to pay for, or whoever I was working with had to pay for it, or it was actually a tag on because they had already done an article about me and they got such great feedback on it that they followed up with me to do an additional article, or it was a sister publication of another publication that had done an article about me or about Running Wild or what have you. So, I mean, it's just the nature of the media market today. And you do have to be careful, though, because there are a lot of what I would consider to be iffy things out there. And you just got to do your research and see if find out to confirm that it is of quality, that it is something you want to be affiliated with. So Caroline says, yes, honestly matters. As smart as we are, we miss so much, and there is so much. And she asks, who do you trust for reviews? What do you think, Ben? Who do you trust?
Well, the first one I think that comes up is Kirkus, and just based on the reputation and the widespread recognition of a Kirkus review. But I wouldn't discount a local newspaper, because it's a great place to start. If you've got an in with a local reporter that is looking for a small paper, is going to have reporters writing about everything from high school baseball to the local poet's latest work. So tap into that and start from there, and just to see how you talk about your work to them and how they write it up, and they'll champion you. If they, like Lisa said, if they're asking you, they're probably going to champion you and make it a good, positive review. But so there's that least formal all the way up to the Kirkus type formal review, and anything in between. It's getting the title of your book out there is the key.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's smarter to start with your local and regional magazines and newspapers, and kind of pepper it with like the Kirkuses and the Publishers Weeklies. Now, mind you, to Ben's point, like Kirkus is highly acclaimed. So if this is something where you are trying to build a reputation across like booksellers and retailers and libraries and so on, you want to target a Kirkus or a like a Publishers Weekly, but that's not targeting readers. If you actually focus on your local and regional magazines and newspapers, that's focused on readers, right? So you got to look at it from both viewpoints. Who is it you're trying to get? Why are you trying to get them? And how can that have basically a piggyback effect, right? Because if and I have been on more panels lately around like anthologies where editors are talking about the fact that the reason they do anthologies and they is because so that they and the reason they also read anthologies, remember that, is so that they can find unknowns and unknown authors and unknown editors and basically steal them for their own publications. So it's the same concept of when you're going out and you're trying to get your book reviewed by small and mid-sized public publications, magazines, newspapers, and so on, and reviewers, is because other people read them, other publishers and so on read them, and so that way, it has that wonderful trickle effect. Caroline says, what do you think about Forbes Whole Over 50 with Mika Brzezinski? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have to look this up now. I think I know what this is because Forbes has the whole like 40 under, 50 under 40 or whatever.
Knowing your worth.
Yeah.
Know your worth with Mika.
Oh, I see. 50 over 50.
Yeah.
Know your value. Got it.
Value. It used to be worth, didn't it? Didn't it used to be know your worth?
I thought it was, but now, well, in 2023, they named it, said know your value.
Okay.
I don't know. It sounds cool to me. I honestly think, typically speak, well, as far as I'm, have visibility to, pretty much all the Forbes lists are pretty reputable. I've never heard anything ill about one of them. So I think there's a lot of, benefit that if you can get on one of them, then awesome. So I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
Well, not to think ill of them, but that one in particular, having grown up behind a wall within a circle of strong women, the value, their definition of value is usually wealth. And it excludes a lot of valuable women that had no wealth that I grew up around. And so it's a commercialized approach to knowing your value and knowing your worth, as in wealth, and your success is based on the money you've made. So there's that perspective that I would add, but it's still highlighting the accomplishments of people who may not always be highlighted. So that's the good side of it. But that's again, any list you can get on that is favorable and put in that, like Lisa herself with Yahoo.com's top 10 entrepreneurs of the year a couple of years ago. It holds credibility to get in those lists with those type of other people who are recognized for their accomplishments.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's an excellent point. Like our society, especially Americans, we tend to go through these cycles where of what we value and what we highlight. And right now, I'd say we are definitely in a pattern of wealth equals success. And, that's not wrong. And it's not necessarily right either. I mean, there have been periods where it was all about, did you basically give up your entire life and, become a pauper to do something, to found something, there have been periods where, it was all about, did you come from nothing and somehow build like an empire, whether it be quantified through monies or quantified by, individuals that you impacted, however it may have been quantified. So I honestly kind of think that's kind of the lazy, like we tend to have to figure out a way to quantify the impact of whoever it is that we're highlighting. And the easiest way to do that's through money. I mean, it's the most public way. It's, and that meanwhile, there are tons of other ways that you could actually quantify, you could define, you could bring forward individuals who are making a major impact on society. So yeah, no, I totally agree, Ben.
And even when that society is a very small circle.
Yeah, exactly.
And not wide at all, but yeah.
Taz says, who's the hardest working author you have seen or heard? Talisa, shout Ben. Ben! Okay.
Sometimes you just have to be your own exclamation point when you punctuate your life. That's all.
There you go. There you go.
Everybody needs to be their own exclamation point.
Well, Ben's definitely one of the hardest working editors I know, because he has this awful habit of like, ooh, that sounds cool. Yeah, sure. I'll edit it.
Okay, I'll tell you. That's a terrible habit. Okay, we know where Ben's going to be.
The thing is, though, he is also, Ben, you're also so incredibly skilled in a wide variety of genres that you can do that and add value to whoever it is that you're working with. So, and that's a rare skill. I mean, in all honesty, typically editors as well as authors tend to be focused on one or two or three specific genres, and they don't really have a broader range. I think that's changing a lot now. There's actually been a couple of articles. The ones that immediately come to mind are focused on horror, but it's about how we used to define like horror and romance and sci-fi and fantasy are all really cross genres now, because like horror is really now like the most popular horror writers are actually literary writers. And the same with like science fiction and fantasy. They're all really cross genre with a lot of layering of characterization and in-depth topics and so on. And, it's interesting to see how this is how writing in general and storytelling in general have really evolved in the last like 20 years. So, which does not answer Teja's question whatsoever. Man, I don't know who's I'm the hardest working author.
What do you think about, you know him better than I do? Well, I don't know him at all. I just know some of his work, but Jonathan Mayberry.
Oh yeah, he is incredibly hard work. I mean,
yeah, okay.
I have no idea how the man does it. But it's funny. So that insert foot and mouth disease, he definitely has it when it comes to like, so like, let's say, so full transparency, the idea for the Cure anthology, so basically inviting people to write short stories and novellas in the world of Cure, that came from Jonathan. And he was like, ooh, wouldn't this be cool? And he does this kind of thing all the time. He'll be somewhere and, people brainstorm out ideas, and then he'll go back to his agent and write up like a quick proposal on it. And because he is so well established in multiple genres and won, tons of awards and so on, I mean, for her, it's a quick sale. But it also means he then ends up with like a backlog of like 9 books that he has to have written in like 3 years. I want you to think about that. Most people have problems knocking out a book every, 5 years.
Lifetime. Every lifetime.
Exactly. I mean, so I just described you have him having to knock out 3 books a year. That's crazy talk. And that's on top of short stories and editing. And he's the acquisitions editor for Weird Tales magazines and Weird Tales publishing. So, and he's at like every effing conference that you can name and like festival. So I have no idea how the man does it. It's absolutely inspiring. And it's funny too, because it's also kind of you know how like you like attracts like, I guess you could say. Well, when you're around someone like Jonathan, you know, if you were having problems coming up with ideas, go hang out with someone like a Jonathan, right? Who produces a lot of work, because all of a sudden, whatever those blockages are that you have in terms of coming up with those concepts, boom, you're good. And then you can just go and run with it, So yeah, I'd say I would definitely name him among the hardest working. Yeah. CJ just quoted you. Everybody needs to be their own exclamation point. Absolutely.
Yeah, heard it here first, CJ.
Caroline says cross genre makes sense if you want to go in depth with life and the real way we live. What's up for the next couple months for both of you? Well, all right, I won't put Ben on the spot because I just keep doing that. This time, so the next couple months, I'm doing the IPG sales conference for the fall. I'm also signed up. I'm going to go to Chicago. So they're going to actually have an in-person sales conference in July of this year. And it's going to be focused on the start of 2025. So I literally just arranged for my flight for that one. I am speaking at Drexel University in between April and May. I'll be there to be a part of they actually have an MFA program. I'm also going to be the keynote speaker for Drexel University's Bachelor of Arts and Sciences graduation on June 14th. I'm very excited about that because I am actually a graduate of Drexel University. And Drexel is better known for their engineering and sciences. And it's really frustrated me my whole life when individuals say, well, you can't be both mathematical and logical and creative. And that is just such complete bullshit. And I just have always found that incredibly, like, why limit people? Some of the best work you're ever going to find, the best things you're ever going to find are by individuals who are really good at both, right? So let them have a blast. Mm-hmm. And the reason that they asked me to be the keynote is because of my background in both sciences and computer sciences and business, as well as in the creative arts. I'm also going to be speaking at a writers group, and I don't remember when, but that's coming up, I believe, later this month. And I'm also the keynote for BookFest, which is a 2-day online festival. And I'll be talking about basically how to build your own brand. And I'll be telling the story of how we started Running Wild and why we did it as well. And I'm sure I have a couple more things, and I need to be better at it's all on my calendar. You guys don't need to watch me look at my calendar and go, oh yeah, that's right, I'm doing that. So I need to be better at having like a list in front of me so that I can answer these questions more effectively. But that's what I can remember off the top of my head. Sorry. I'm also going to be at the Horror Writers Association. So StokerCon, I'll be there. And I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. I will be a part of a panel to talk about writers workshops and those kinds of things. So, okay, that's everything I can remember right now.
Yeah.
Ben, what are you up to, youngin?
But just to piggyback on your topic about doing different things and being able to do different things, and it reminded me that I am a retired military officer with a philosophy degree, and a lot of people, that was cognitive dissonance to a lot of people. Well, you've got a philosophy degree and you're in the military. How do you fit? How do you function? And I use that philosophy degree every day for 22 years, every day. But to bring it back, I'm just going to be editing those books I couldn't say no to. That's where I'll be for the next 2.
And by the way, anyone watching, Ben is a phenomenal speaker. So if you absolutely want somebody to come and be both insightful and humorous, you've got to reach out to this man. And if you haven't noticed that already from our Ask Us Anythings, then go back and watch some of them, because it's a huge miss if you don't invite him. So just saying.
But I do have a lot of collections still to type up, and going back to, well, I'm working on, like I said last week, Petty Days. These are petty days. They're not necessarily the storytelling neo-narrative poems that Lisa loves me for, but
because I can edit them, I can't edit it.
It's first thought, best thought. They don't need to be edited. But working on typing those up. I've got a tribute to Thelma Todd, the old actress who they found in Lincoln dead one day, which is a great story. But I've got a collection that needs to be typed up and submitted somewhere. No corn in Eden. There was no corn in Eden, and just a bunch. And then I've actually got a bunch ready to go too. So I've got to send those out, and worst case, they get rejected, and I give myself $5 for every rejection. So I don't mind at all.
There you go.
It's a good psychological trick to give yourself $5 for every rejection you get. And if you're a poet, you can retire.
Yeah, pretty much.
Poets, no rejection.
Oh my goodness.
No, and then it's 6 weeks to go till the end of the semester, and then I start up. I don't get a break. I just go into the intersection in between semesters, and I go into the summer semester and teach. So you know where to find me.
There you go. There you go.
On one side of the podium or the other, there I am.
Tejas says, describe the day where you have written the most chapters.
That's you're a chapter writer.
Yeah, that's true. I'm more of a chapter writer. So it was when I was actually writing Cure, and I wanted to knock out. So I give myself, when I'm writing a novel, I first brainstorm out the storyline. I then structure it in terms of like key topics or key items that I want to hit in each chapter. And then I already described like my vetting for stupidity process, or like, this is way too obviously some move, we got to do something else, like that kind of thing. But the reason I do all that is because I typically then give myself a target of that I have to write minimally 800 to 1,000 words a day. And then what I usually do is I give myself a target of I have to write at least 5,000 words on weekends. Now, I had hit a point where I had crossed the like 2/3 point. And for most people, like if you write novels, that 2/3 point is usually when you're hitting, like you're starting to resolve a lot of the open storylines that you had hanging out, or you've hit that climax of all hell has officially broken loose. The whole world is changing. And now, you got to kind of bring everything together. And so for that, sometimes that takes like, I really just want to focus on that. I don't want to be distracted by other things. And so I think the most I've written is like 10,000 words in a day. Because then at that point, my brain kind of is like, and I'm done. But what's great about doing that, like let's say you go away, like a writer's retreat of sorts, is that if that's really your key focus, is that you can step away from it, go eat, do whatever, take a nap, and then your brain then says, hey, you know what? We may want to go back and rewrite these things. And it actually makes the rewrite process, at least in my experience, a lot easier, because you're so much more focused on what it is that you're putting together. So that's the very long way of saying 10,000 words.
That second turn on it, though, it's easier to take stuff out than it is to come up with new stuff to put in. And so if you've already got 10,000 words, you need to get it down to 7. It's an easier process, or it's a good foundation for a next step in the process, not an easier process itself.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So Ben, what's the most you've ever written?
I wrote a collection last week or so. It's called "I Have a Theory," and it was 55 poems in 4 days. And,
oh wow!
And of course, the poems are not 10,000 words, but there is a theme, and I have a theory. I have a theory. That's what it is. And so I wrote the 55 poems, and 1 or 2 of them are pretty good.
Awesome.
There's always that. So I can take out 53. It's much easier to take out 53 than to try to put 53 in.
There you go.
So I've got the 2. But if I am writing a longer piece, and I do have a novel that's still, well, I've got about 3 novels that are still waiting, with their characters sitting there. They're playing cards, waiting for me to get back or something. And if 3,000 words would be about the top for me in a day, and that's just to jump in and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for me, because I am a very prolific poet because I'm a lazy fiction writer, and vice versa. And vice versa.
Okay. So Teha asks, so when are you coming to New York City?
That's you.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to be in New York in November. I can't talk about it yet. It's another thing that it'll be announced in May. And, but once it's announced, then I can talk about why I'll be in New York City. So are you sure you're not going to New York anytime?
I left New York in 2005 and haven't been back.
Okay.
I was actually stationed on Long Island, out in Mauritius, about halfway out Long Island. The Coast Guard saw 250 boats in the winter, and like 250,000 boats in the summer. It was busy summers. Yeah. A lot of boaters showed up.
Caroline says, Lisa, can you post your calendar? That is a great question. I'll figure out how to do it on my lisadkastner.com site. It would have to be like, you don't want to know when I'm going to the dentist and stuff, but yeah, I'm happy to figure it out. I don't think you want to know when I'm going to the dentist.
You don't know. You don't want to know. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to know. Tonight I'm going to go get me some pizza because it's pie day. But beyond that, I actually have it on my calendar. I'm that person. So Teja says, what's a movie you go to when you feel sad? I mean, honestly, if I'm feeling sad, then I'm going to go for a movie that is going to make me laugh. So basically any movie that's going to make me laugh. I don't know, Ben, what do you think?
I've got to go back to the last time I felt sad. Haven't I mentioned that you're the exclamation point in your life?
Excuse me.
When you are the exclamation point in your own life, you never feel sad.
Okay.
So
I'll
what
just
can
go
you
with
do?
Caroline says, yes, Ben, we want you to come and speak here with me. All right, game on.
It's got to warm up, Caroline. You got to warm it up there.
There you go. She's up in New York. She wants both of us. So Taya says, why do you have a pen name? Just curious. So Ben, you don't have a pen name, right?
I don't. He's talking to you.
Okay. I
go
love
by
how
Ben or Benjamin B sometimes.
So the reason I have a pen name is because when I wrote Cure, I submitted it to Running Wild, but I did it because I wanted to work with my the editors that we have because I think they're phenomenal. But I didn't want it to get accepted because I'm Lisa. I wanted it to get accepted because it's a great story. So originally I submitted it to Running Wild under the pen name so that they didn't know it was me who wrote it. I don't know if that worked or not, but anyway. Then when they accepted it, then I had to come out and say, oh, well, I wrote this and both Ben and Peter were actually very kind in their acceptance of Cure when I first submitted it. And then I was like, well, I'd love to work with both of you on it. And then it was one of those like, well, who do I pick? Because now I just feel like a jackass. And then so in all honesty, the Cure was Ben did a broad edit, and then Peter came back and he gave
and
some
corrected everything I did.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, he gave. So Peter, among all of us, I'd say is the most prolific literary, like more in-depth literary editor and writer. And so he oftentimes, he's amazing at looking at a chapter or a story and saying, okay, I see what you're doing here. Did you ever think about, and really just with that one question, opening up the entire, not just that one section that he's referencing, but the entire book, right? Because he tends to be able to pinpoint a part that is indicative of other areas that you could really expand. So like there were some sections that I had a lot of there was a lot of activity to it, and he was like, but what I want to understand this world, because you're really, although it's based in reality, you're creating a whole new world. I really want to get in it. Let me in it. Give me the descriptions of this world, right? Allow me to be a part of it. And he would even like question things like, if this person has known this person for 5 bajillion years, would they really interact this way? Right. And even if the reader doesn't know that they've known each other for hundreds of years, but you as the author and from the perspective that you're writing this may know it. So, take all these things into consideration. And so it enabled us to really expand, I'd say, the world that we created of Cure. And then just kind of take those kinds of thoughts and those considerations into forward for Uncurable and also for Family Pack. But then I kept the pen name because, and this is, I completely own this as my own, I don't want to say uncertainty, but like my own personal concern. I didn't want us to publish it and then people see it and say, oh, that's just self-publishing. Like they just published it because she's Lisa and it's her press. I wanted it, the story itself to be taken at self-value for, and so that's why I originally published it under a pen name. And the dear friend we just mentioned, Jonathan Mayberry, he was like, don't do it. You need to just use your own name. And he's like, screw what people might think. Once they actually read the story, because he was one of the first reviewers that we had, they will completely get over it. He also advocated for me to submit it for a Horror Writers Association awards to StokerCon. So we actually had submitted Cure for a Stoker award. And anyway, so, after I got over my own insecurities and so on, that's when I said, okay, you know what, for Family Pack and moving forward, we'll just use my name. And the only reason we have it where it says Lisa Diane Kastner, aka Callie Metis, is because for those who may not be aware that, I wrote Cure under that pen name, it's basically to provide that bridge, that transition. So that was the incredibly long answer to why I have a pen name and why I don't have one. I won't have one moving forward. So these are great questions, by the way, guys. As always, I mean, you guys are pretty phenomenal.
The backstory to that is when you ask me, what do you think about a pen name? Mm. And I said, yeah, you do a pen name. And he said, well, what do you think it should be? And I must have been listening to The Doors, because LA Woman, you're the only woman I know in LA that I think. So I took LA Woman and I offered to you the pen name of Mona Law.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's LA Woman. You remember? And you said no. So that was my last attempt to give you a pen name ever. Ever.
No, I think you gave me more than one pen name, but they were all just like tongue in cheek, like the same thing when we were coming up with so for the short story anthology in the world of Cure, I was like, okay, guys, help me figure out what are we going to call this thing? And I sent it to all of the authors who are in Uncurable. Holy moly, the number of responses we got that were absolutely hilarious. It was like, dear Lord, people. Like, did you take crack and then just start writing stuff down? Like, are you on some kind of CBD? Because, like, this is just nutso stuff. So, Caroline says, I agree with that. You should use your own name. Own it. Yeah, no, I agree. And what's ironic about all this is that I tell everyone they should use their own name, period. And yet here I am, using a pen name, at least for a little while. So anyway. Wow, guys. So we have less than a minute left. I just want to thank everybody yet again for joining us. As always, we have an absolute blast with you guys. If you are watching this and it is not between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, it is not a big deal. As you have just seen, we do go back and we check all the comment sections during the week and see if we get any new questions. So please feel free to go ahead, pop us out some questions. We are more than happy to respond. Caroline says, you're forgiven. Well, thank you.
Caroline's title is ready for pre-order.
There you go. Ready for pre-order.
Sure, at the sound of a whistle.
Whoop, whoop. Woo! Yeah, guys, you got to pick up her book, Terror at the Sound of the Whistle. It is fabulous. So with that, I think we're out. And again, guys, just come on, join us Thursdays. And also you can check out the recordings from basically forever since we started this whole schmear. So yeah. All right. So with that, we will see you later. Night.
Good night.